When I think of fall, I think of three things. Firstly, the season, of course. Falling leaves, reds, oranges, yellows, temperatures cooling down, taking out the sweaters, pumpkin patches, apple picking. And then secondly, I think of back to school, book bags, students walking around campuses. And then thirdly, I think of the spooky season. I think of Halloween, I think of things that are dark and terrifying and go bump in the night. And I am so excited for this season. I don't have like an official start of school because I'm doing my PhD, but I'm still in that mood for learning and reading and writing and walking around pretty campuses. And I'm so ready for some relief from the heat. I'm ready to drink warm drinks with a nice book, and I want that book to be something kind of spooky, kind of cozy, maybe a little bit magical, maybe set in a university setting. And so that is what this video is all about. This is my big fall book video. I've given up on really doing TBRs because I really cannot predict what I'm going to read when, but I am in the mood to read a particular type of book that is at the intersection of the fall season, back to school, and darkness. Stick around for a TBR later, along with a book haul, but first I want to recommend you some books that I have read in the past that fit this description. The first one, and probably the most well suited for this intersection, is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This book is about a group of youth who have been taken in by this strange man they call Father, and they live out their days in his library where he has all of his many powerful knowledges, and each child is assigned a different field of study that teaches them to do some rather absurd things. So this book has those like academic study library vibes, but also it's a bit of a mystery, a bit of a thriller. There is death, there is gore, there's even a little bit of a romance. So if you want all of those things packed into one book, then I cannot recommend The Library at Mount Char enough. If you don't like gore, you don't like graphic death, or if you don't like truly absurd narratives because this book really is quite weird, then maybe skip this one. A different one you could pick up that fits this description quite well is Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Tkachenko. I talk about this all the time. I've got a video dedicated to it on my channel because it's so good. It is also set in the back to school season. It opens in the summer when our main character is trying to decide which university she's going to go to. She ends up getting into this dark, magical, mysterious higher education institution. She doesn't know exactly what she'll be studying there, and she had to do some pretty sketchy things to get in the first place. I recommend this if you like dark academia fantasy novels, or if you like more philosophical, metaphysical, speculative fiction. But if you don't want to do a bit of thinking and be a bit confused while you're reading, especially when you finish the book, then maybe skip this one. Another really quick, spooky, suspenseful read that I think about when I think about fall is Foe by Ian Reid. And that is because this book is set on a farm. And when I think of farms, I think of the harvest season. I think of corn mazes and pumpkin picking and haunted houses. It's quite short. Some of the chapters are very short, and it's very ominous. Like, you know something is going down and the characters know something is not quite right with their world, but they can't quite place exactly what is wrong. Maybe unsettling is the best word I would use to describe this book. I don't want to give any part of it away, but if that sounds interesting to you, then I really recommend Foe. My next recommendation is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I recommend this one because the main character is a university physics professor, so it's got that sort of like school time feel, but also it's a thriller, so it's kind of dark, kind of intense, and really good for this time of year. And it's like a solid sci-fi. Like, it picks a sci-fi topic and then it focuses in on just that topic, but it's also more of like a softer social sci-fi, so it more dives into the relationships formed and how this sci-fi scenario affects those relationships. I have some nonfiction recommendations for fall as well. One of those is They Said This Would Be Fun by Eternity Martis. This is about when Eternity Martis started at Western University here in Ontario, and she tells the story of what it was like to be a Black student at an overwhelmingly white university. We are told that our 4 years of university are going to be the best days of our lives, but Martis suffered through intimate partner violence, binge drinking, and the health ramifications of that, and many other really terrifying scenarios while she was in undergrad, and she exposes that in this book. It has both the feel of a memoir, if you're really into reading memoirs, but also of kind of journalism, so if you want like the statistics, they're in here too. Martis does a really good job of contextualizing her own experiences at Western, so if you want a memoir that talks about the darker side of academia for an undergraduate student in Ontario, then check out this book. And my other nonfiction recommendation is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, another memoir. The Dream House, as you can tell from the front cover of this book, is a bit of a haunted house where Maria Machado relives her past same-sex abusive relationship. The reason that I think this is good for fall season is because at the time of the relationship, Maria Machado was a student in creative writing, and she tells a little bit about her school experiences, but also because she uses this framing device of classic horror tropes. Each section is titled after a different aspect of like horror literature. For instance, Dreamhouse as Inciting Incident, Dreamhouse as Memory Palace, Dreamhouse as Lesbian Cult Classic, Dreamhouse as Folktale Taxonomy, Dreamhouse as Creature Feature. This was another great eye-opening read that also features statistics and academic investigations of same-sex abusive relationships. It's also probably one that I will reread in the future. It was that good. Okay, now I want to share my fall TBR list, but to do that, I need to go to the library and pick up a couple more titles because this fall we're going full dark academia, my friends. This is a genre that I have very rarely dipped my toes into, but I think I am absolutely going to love it. So let's go get a pumpkin spice latte, pick up a couple books, and then see what my fall reading plans are. Okay, see you in a minute. My trip to the library was a semi-success. I went in looking for 4 books and I only found 2 of them, but that's probably for the better because I never end up reading all of the books I get at the library anyway. Luckily, I didn't impulse borrow any books, so maybe I actually will get through this whole TBR I am about to share. Now it's time to go back home and tell you about what I am reading this fall. I am home from my trip to the library. It's actually a couple days later. It's gotten gloomier out in the past couple days. It's gotten a bit cooler. It's been a bit rainy, so I'm getting very fall vibes now. So this is the perfect time to talk a bit about my Dark Academia fall TBR. If you don't know what Dark Academia is, you're in good company because I'm not fully aware myself. In general, I think it's like people studying classics and similar disciplines at big old colleges built in the 1800s or earlier, covered in ivy, people wearing tweed jackets. There's murder and a somewhat civilized or gentlemanly mayhem, I think. Those are the vibes that I get. In general, it's like an academic setting with academic themes, but also dark. I think the only dark academia books I've really read, which are not the canonical Secret History by Donna Tartt, are Piranesi by Susanna Clarke was pretty dark academia. They Never Learn was pretty dark academia because it's set on a college campus and there is murder. And of course Vita Nostra is pretty dark academia. So I've read like a little bit in the genre, if it is a genre. I'm pretty sure dark academia started as just like a Pinterest aesthetic, basically, but now we have full novels dedicated to the genre, the most famous of which, of course, being The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I actually don't have next to me because it's on my bedside table, because it's the one that I am reading first. I feel like to truly understand the dark academia genre, you must read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I cannot believe that I've never read it before, but I'm reading it now, and it's a really surreal experience because I feel like I've read it before from the amount that people talk about it online and just from people talking about dark academia in general, because it is the poster child of dark academia. So I started reading and I was like, oh, that's dark academia. Basically, it follows the life of this one boy as he goes away to school. He has studied Greek for a couple years prior and he's really interested in that subject, but unfortunately, the Greek class in the school that he is attending is very exclusive. The professor teaches the Greek students basically all of their lessons, and there are only like 5 of them. And he's very picky about who he lets into his class. People that like Plato, people that he likes. But somehow our main character manages to get himself into that class and becomes friends with the other students in that class, who are all a bit odd, and nobody else in the college seems to like these people very much. And what we know from the prologue is that there is probably going to be a murder of one of those students by one of the other students, I think our protagonist. So that's where I'm starting this fall, with The Secret History. I also heard somewhere at one point that The Secret History has some undertones of Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky in it. So I think I'm also going to pick up this classic, which I've been meaning to read for a while anyway, and this seems like a good opportunity to try tackling this book. I've got this beautiful Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition that I picked up in a Niagara-on-the-Lake bookshop, and it's got these little shiny bits all over it too, with the blood on the ground. Oh my gosh. Another one that I've already started reading, and I'm about halfway through, is The Book Eaters. So I'm not sure this is exactly dark academia, but the book is about a people who are similar-ish to humans, save for a couple of qualities, including the fact that they eat books, and that is their sustenance. Occasionally, rarely, but sometimes, one of them is born who is actually a mind eater. The mind eaters, instead of getting their knowledge and their nutrition from books, get it from human minds. So they actually suck the brains out of people's ears. So we definitely have dark covered here, and I felt like the aspect of literature and consumption of knowledge through books was kind of academic, so I'm maybe slotting this under dark academia, although I don't think it's quite that, and it's pretty good so far. I am definitely going to finish it. I do want to know what happens. Our main character is kind of separating herself from the book eater tradition, particularly because they're not very kind to women. Women are kind of just there to give birth to new book eaters because that is how their species is going to stay alive, but the women aren't actually allowed to care for their own babies. So this woman has run away with her son, but her son is a mind eater. So she needs to find him minds to eat, which essentially kills that person, or find this really rare drug. But things get complicated along the way and not everything is as it seems. Next, I actually hauled a book for my dark academia reading fall, and I think maybe some of you know what this is going to be. It is like the current obsession of dark academia on BookTube, and that is R.F. Kuang's book, Babel. I don't know much about this book. I really wanted to read the Poppy War series, but I haven't got around to it. And then this came out, and some people are loving this even more, and it does fit my dark academia prompt, but I also think I'm gonna like the Poppy War, so I'm definitely gonna read that at some point. But since it is fall, and this is supposed to be super dark academia, I'm gonna start here. And I'm really excited about it. The other 2 books that I hauled, which are from the library for this TBR, are Catherine House and Bunny, and both of these I found on a dark academia book list from Books and Bow at booksandbow.com. They have just phenomenal lists of books there with really great summaries, so I highly recommend if you're looking for your next read. I don't really know a lot about either of these books, but they were on that list, so I trust that they're dark academia. This one says it's about a girl named Samantha who is an outsider in her small, highly selective MFA program at an elite New England university. Definitely sounds academia. She's a scholarship student who prefers the company of her dark imagination to that of most people. And she is repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, which is a clique of unbearably twee rich girls who call each other Bunny. Definitely sounds like dark academia to me. Sounds pretty exciting, actually. And then Catherine House, which I've also heard booktubers talk about before, but I don't know what it's about. Catherine House is a school of higher learning like no other. Definitely academic. Hidden deep in the woods of rural Pennsylvania, this crucible of reformist liberal arts study has produced some of the world's best minds. Wow, students are required to give Catherine 3 years removed from the outside world. Family, friends, television, music, even their personal clothing must be left behind. That's already kind of spooky, so definitely giving me excellent back to school, dark, spooky fall vibes. And then these last 3 that I'm thinking about reading this fall, but we'll see what happens. I am labeling them dark academia. They're books that I already own that are on my shelf, so I want to get to some of those titles because like there's a lot over here I haven't read yet. The first one is not college students, but rather like high school students, and it's a little bit of a classic, and that book is Battle Royale. Again, another beautiful copy with this like shiny bits on the cover. I love this. I'm obsessed with this edition of this book. If you don't know Battle Royale, it's like the OG Hunger Games. A class of junior high school students is taken to a deserted island where, as part of a ruthless authoritarian program, they are provided arms and forced to kill one another until only one survivor is left standing. Definitely dark. Maybe not academic, but it does feature a group of students, so I'm counting it. Next up is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I feel like almost everybody has read this by now except me. It does sound like I'm going to love it. I don't really know what it's about. I feel like it's a book that I don't want to know what it's about going in. I think it might be a sci-fi. I honestly don't know. I've heard it occasionally referred to as dark academia, so I'm putting in this list because I feel like I should finally read this. It's not that long, especially compared to the other books on this list, so hopefully I'll finally get to this one. Unfortunately, this is a movie tie-in cover and there's literally no information about the book on the back of it, so I'm really going in knowing very little, but I'm excited. And then finally, after I loved Piranesi so much, I went and picked up Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Wow, I did not realize this won a Hugo Award. That's very cool. It's set in the early 1800s, so we're already in sort of a dark academic setting, I think, and it's about 2 men who change England's history when they bring magic back into the world. Jonathan Strange becomes the student of Mr. Norrell, and they join forces in the war against France. But Strange is increasingly drawn to the wildest, most perilous forms of magic, straining his partnership with Norrell and putting at risk everything else he holds dear. So this does sound pretty dark academia. It's wartime. There's a student and a teacher. There's competition and rivals, and it's got the right time period setting, so I bet the like architecture and aesthetic of the location are going to fit the theme really well as well. That said, it is extremely long. It's not my first pick of the season, but if I get through the others, I'm going here next. And those are all of the books that I plan to read this fall. I'm a bit of a mood reader, so I'm not sure I'll get to all of them, but I am pretty excited about all of them. Let me know if you have any dark academia favorites, and let me know what you're reading this fall. And have a great fall season in general. I will see you in another video soon.